Libby and I have been talking about change. We've been talking about all the changes and transformations that have unfolded in our life. And we were talking about this really interesting, who knows what it is, concept or reality, that once you've actually made the decision to change, and once you step into transformation and there's no going back from there, and that you start to evolve into an elevated version of who you were, it's hard for people to acknowledge it or recognize it because they've been so conditioned about who you were. They've been praying that you would change all these years, and then you do, but they're still conditioned in the past that you're still the exact same person. And that can be very frustrating, where you're thinking, haven't you realized that I've taken these steps? Haven't you realized that I've grown?
So I definitely identify with that. And I think that it's interesting because when you start to change and you show up in a different way, it makes those around you really nervous because they might have to change too. And how difficult is it that, for example, high school reunion is a really good example of this, where everyone's changed, right? We hope. Over 20 years. I mean, physically, we've changed, right?
20 years. I'm just going to my 5-year high school reunion.
Okay, so for some of us who are on our 20 to 25-year high school reunion, you go back and there's change, but we immediately go back to treating each other just as if we graduated from that day in high school. And that's, I think, symbolic of life. In relationship, I think especially with friendships or in relationships, it's like, they require work just like anything else and a constant evolution. So what I found is that when I get upset when, say, other people aren't acknowledging or appreciating that change that I'm experiencing, I have to check myself and ask myself if I'm actually letting the people around me change as well. So the more that I allow myself to be beginner's mind with others, then guess what? I'm starting to see that same thing reflected back.
That's so brilliant. That's so brilliant, because we get so fixed in our roles, and we live this role and they live that role, and then we say, I'm growing, but you're not. So we think they're not acknowledging our change, but simultaneously we are not necessarily acknowledging theirs. That's brilliant.
Sorry about that. Sorry about your change. I was too focused on mine.
Right. Well, join us for Meditated and Liberated. We have an upcoming immersion just right around the corner. And so we'll be going deep into these types of concepts, not just transforming our lives, but learning to live with that transformation once we get back home.
Yeah.
So we look forward to seeing you there. Namaste.
Namaste.